Hi, welcome to Ask GMBN Tech, the weekly Q&A session. You ask us questions about mountain bike tech, use that hashtag Ask GMBN Tech, get involved in the comments underneath down there. Don't forget you can ask questions directly to myself as well, or any of the rest of the team here on GMBN, GMBN Tech, and of course EMBN. So hit us up in the comments down there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and tell your friends about us. It's free content 4 times a week. Onwards. Next from Jody Reynolds 81. We'd love to know what you see is or was the biggest fad in mountain biking. Wow, there's been loads of these over the years, and some of them actually pretty close to today as well. I think bar ends, you could say, was a fad. Now, they were kind of designed to give you another position on the bars. I guess you could say a little bit similar to the hood position that our roadie friends have. You know, they go drops, they can go on the tops, and they can go on the hoods. And bar ends were literally clamp on short pieces of handlebar that go on the end of your handlebars, like you can see in this photo. And they gave you an additional position which were rumoured to be very good for climbing, but really I can see the benefit for something like the Cape Epic or any sort of marathon event where being in a fixed position for a long time just becomes tiresome and probably a little bit boring, and you're going to get fatigue in your hands and wrists. So being able to change position was a good thing. And that's what cross country was kind of about back then. The races were much longer. So a good thing. We've now kind of moved away from that because the racing is far more technical. So all out control is a better thing. So you generally see slightly wider bars, a bit more of an aggressive position. But I have always thought that bar ends could make a return for just that sort of riding, like marathon and stuff. Who knows? You could say 26-inch wheels, were the longest fad in mountain biking. Because they were only used to start with because tyres already existed in that size, so it was easier to just get on with it and design the bikes around them. And they're fantastic. There's nothing wrong with 26-inch wheels. It's just we have choices of 27.5 and 29-inch wheels, which are going to suit different sizes of people with different riding styles. For me, it's all about the 29. It just fits the way I like to ride, fits me physically in the size. But I rode 26-inch wheels for, I think, all the way until probably late 2000s, maybe, sometime around that area, so a long time. But yeah, you could argue they are a bit of a fad, or were a fad. Okay, next up then, I would say suspension stems. You might be able to see up here at the back, I've got a Guustavv flex stem. In fact, here's a photo of one on screen. Now, I used to love these for a little while because they were a cheap entry to the world of front suspension at a time when there wasn't much out there. You're talking Manitou suspension forks, RockShox RS1s, and a few other basic telescopics like the Scott Unishock fork. I think it was called Unishock, and a few others that are available in the market. Now, a suspension stem, by all accounts, is just not ideal, is it? I mean, bearing in mind that various companies made these over the years. Allsop made the soft ride stem, which was a parallelogram one, which actually worked quite well as far as the set of handlebars moving up and down and around out the way. But yeah, it was definitely a fad, although I did see that Specialized kind of dug it up again recently, didn't they? And put them on a road bike or gravel bike, which actually by concept, really good idea, because they were using it for vibration damping. Why not? It's going to be better than a suspension fork in that application for those sort of bikes. But as far as mountain bikes go, nah, gone. And then novelty wheels, I'd say these have always been a fad. Now, simply put, until someone does something drastically different, you're going to find it very difficult to beat a traditionally built spoked wheel. Now, there's been loads over the years. Of course, we've seen those Syncross crazy one-piece carbon wheels, which are just breathtaking in terms of design and what they achieve, but that's not really everyday stuff. So you could argue that's almost a bit of a fad because it's just not realistic. But over the years, we've seen the spin wheels, which had those 3 spokes, one-piece carbon wheels. We saw the Spengle ones. They kind of made a bit of a short-term sort of resurgence a while back. We saw a lot of influencers using Spengle wheels out there. Tioga disc drive, of course, the coolest of the pointless wheels out there. There's been loads of them over time. Everyone's been trying to reinvent the wheel, but we keep going back to the humble spokes. Now, there may well be a better approach. We've just not got there yet. For the time being though, spoked wheels, they work. You can replace spokes when they break. They're very easily trued. They're easily built relatively as well compared to how hardcore it is to build like a one-piece carbon design wheel, for example, things like that. And you can make them light or heavy, or you can have compliance in them. You can have single wall rims like those 3.0 motor ones that have got the sort of the ankle flex in them. You can have double wall thickness rims. You can have pretty much any option of things possible. So yeah, novelty wheels, that's definitely a fad. Anyone else out there got any good fads for mountain bikes? I'd like to hear what you think in the comments under there. Next question from Paul Simpson 0101. I've got a 90s Kona Lava Dome. I'm looking to upgrade the gearing. It runs 2x7 at the moment. I'm looking to go 1x10 on there. Is it as simple as buying a new group set, or do I need to change the old rear wheel to accept the 10-speed cassette? What else would I need to do? I mainly use the bike as a commuting bike or chuck in on a turbo for the winter months. Well, firstly, you might not need to go to 10-speed if you're just using it for that. You could still stick to 7-speed. But if you wanted to go 10-speed, then the chances are you will probably, well, you're going to have to modify the hub, which isn't always possible. It depends on the hub make and model. So you could say it's more hassle than it's worth. Or of course, you're going to need to change the rear wheel with a fresh hub on there. So 7, 8 and 9 speed hubs, 7, 8 and 9 speed are not compatible with 10 speed hubs, so you will need to get a different hub essentially. A little bit annoying, but it does mean you can get them fairly reasonably priced these days, and that's a good way of doing stuff, and you'll get a nice fresh transmission and it will last you a fairly long time. But there is another use or another approach you could take actually. Now I've seen this done a few times. I don't know anyone that's personally it's done it, but I've seen it done on old mountain bikes in particular. And in fact, there's someone around Bath that's got I think it's a Rock Hopper or something like that, and he's got a Nexus hub, or she has got a Nexus hub on their mountain bike. So they've converted it into, it looks like a single speed, it's got full length mud guards, and it's got a rack on the back, like a pannier rack. And it looks like they just use it as their daily driver sort of thing. And it's got a Nexus hub. I don't know what model they've got, but you can get like, this one on screen is an 8-speed one, compatible for V-brakes, so it doesn't have dismounts or anything on the hub. And that with the shifter, get it laced up on a rim, go straight on your bike, and you've got 8 gears on there, and arguably, 0 maintenance as well. They last a seriously long time. You can treat them pretty badly. Obviously, if you treat them well, they're going to last you a very long time. But Nexus hubs work really well. There's a lot of good options out there, and I don't think they're too expensive either. And I think it might be, considering what you're looking at for commuting and that, might be worth a good option. Has anyone out there converted their bike to like a hub gear, like Alpine or Nexus, or even the more expensive options like Roll-Off and stuff out there? Be keen to know what you think. For this use, I reckon for commuting, it could be a winner. Say goodbye to mech. You can also put a bigger, heavier duty single speed chain on there. Ain't gonna break, and it's gonna last longer as well. So I kind of think that's a good way to go for an urban hack. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Next from Josh Donnelly 04. What were the benefits of Gripshift and why aren't they popular anymore? Okay, so let's put this into pros and cons. So you've got to bear in mind that this was a preference thing. It wasn't like the market forcing you to have them. So the first thing is they are extremely light. So unlike conventional shifters that have metal moving parts, springs, ratchets, casing, clamps and stuff, they were literally just a clamp with a plastic sheath that basically slides over the top of them, and that sheath had a rubber grip on there. On the inside, you had a very basic spring. It was literally like a clip that would compress into little grooves that would index the gears. The inner cable would wrap around and go back out through the barrel adjuster. So light, so simple to use. They made your handlebars extremely clean looking because you were losing the shifters. You just had essentially a cable exiting what looked like a handlebar grip. Very good for cold weather where you got to wear big bulky gloves, that sort of thing. Good for people that maybe have issues with their hands or broken fingers, or maybe have any sort of disability, and using actual trigger style shifters can be difficult. So these can be very good for that. They look nice and neat. Yeah, there's the pros for them. Cons, there's less options with the grips. So you wouldn't run them with a full length grip because otherwise the shifter would be so far inboard, you'd be just moving around the whole time. So typically you would have a shorter grip on them, and pre-lock-on grips, you'd obviously just trim your grip down to the right size, have a spacer between the two so the grip wouldn't stop the barrel rotating there. And yeah, and then you'd crack on. But with lock-on style grips, there's less option, although you can get kids lock-on grips, which are a bit narrower, so they can make a good substitute for there. They can be prone to accidental shifting if you ride with part of your hand on the shifter. So the thing that makes them very good also can be limiting. I used them for quite a long time. Various Gripshift. I had the 800 X-rays, I had the 500s, the 600s, I had the the Sax Wavies, they were pretty good as well. I had various different ones over the years, and I always kind of liked them, but I was kind of influenced by the influencers of the day, like John Tomac, for example, that guy in that picture. He was famous for running Gripshift, had the little stickers on the front of them, and they look cool, and everyone wanted to be like Tomac, so you could say I was a bit of a mug from that respect, because you're never going to be as good as him anyway, but I loved them. I thought they were cool. You could say that you need to do more maintenance with them because they're very rudimentary in terms of plastic sleeve over plastic sleeve, so you need to keep them clean and lubricated, but the beauty is they're so simple to take apart and clean. And they're going to wear out as you use them. I guess the only real negatives with them would have been, like I said, accidentally changing gear when you're on them, and also in wet and muddy conditions, or if you fall off, get mud on your glove, it can be extremely difficult to grip them. That could be a problem. But there you go. They kind of still exist. SRAM still make them as far as I know. They certainly did when they were doing 11 speed, or is that 10 speed? Don't quote me on that, I've probably got it wrong. And they also make, well, RockShox make one to actuate the lockout on the rear shock, which is very cool, and I've used one of those and I've really liked it. So there are good options out there still, I think. Anyone still use Gripshift or any kind of twist style shifter? Let us know down there. And that's the end of this week's Ask GMBN Tech. I'll be back on the show soon with Anna. Looking forward to it, just getting back into the swing of things. Let us know what you think in the comments underneath, and we'll see you soon. Take care.